Just recently, the Kremlin media called the offensive of the Russian army in the Kharkiv region a turning point in the entire war against Ukraine. However, in reality, the situation is completely different. The Russian counteroffensive has stalled and stated goals have not been achieved. Both experts and the Ukrainian military are confident that there is no point in talking about this second attempt since 2022 to capture Kharkiv.
After May the 10th, the situation stabilized slightly compared to the first days of the opening of the new front. As of now, fighting continues. The invaders are not advancing any further. The so-called blitzkrieg that they carried out in the first day or two has been stopped. Stich, soldier of the 2nd Separate Special Forces Detachment of the Special Operations Center Omega, in an interview with Radio NV.
The General Staff reported that the Ukrainian armed forces repelled the threat of a breakthrough by Russian invaders in the Kharkiv region, but fighting there is still ongoing. Due to large losses near Vovchansk-Kharkiv region, the Russian Ministry of Defense is considering the issue of attracting conscripts, reports the attached partisan movement.
The enemy is pulling up its resources, putting up reserves in the Lipetsk and Vovchansk directions to maintain the previous offensive tempo, because there our soldiers destroy, in fact, more than 500 soldiers a day.
Faced with stubborn resistance from the Ukrainian defense forces, the Russian command is actively using guided bombs in the Kharkiv direction, both against the field positions of the Ukrainian armed forces and the urban areas of Vovchansk. Russia fires at Kharkiv itself with different types of weapons every day. In the last week alone, Russian missiles and guided bombs hit the Factor Drug printing house and the epicenter hypermarket in Kharkiv, killing 25 people.
At worst, the Kremlin could replicate the strategy it used against Aleppo, Syria, in 2016, when the Russian Air Force, supporting the Syrian government in its civil war, destroyed electricity and water sources and bombed hospitals and schools. People were simply displaced. This is what they want to practice around Kharkiv. Alexander Litvinenko, Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine, in an interview with the Wall Street Journal.
Russia's advance in the northeast of the Kharkiv region convinced Kyiv's allies that Ukraine should be able to destroy military installations on the territory of the aggressor country for self-defense. Permission from 15 countries to use their weapons to hit targets in Russia could radically change the course of hostilities.
They'll help knock out the Russian troops before they even cross the border, before they get into the fight, and so it makes the job easier for our guys, our Ukrainian defense forces. Plus, the accumulation of troops was knocked out because it was unattainable, because we couldn't use these systems. Also, logistics and warehouses were knocked out. It is possible that after the ban on shelling targets in the Belgorod region of Russia is lifted, new cases of such shelling may appear in the near future, and this will undoubtedly affect the actions of the Russian army in the border areas. Until May 31st, the Russian military felt relatively safe on Russian territory. Now Russian regions will have to live by the new rules, writes BBC News.
At the same time, Ukraine is confident that the United States should allow the Ukrainian armed forces to use longer-range weapons, for example, ATACMS with a range of 300 kilometers, which would allow the Ukrainian army to strike military bases and airfields located deep inside Russian territory.
We are grateful, and this is public information. We are grateful to President Biden for recently allowing us to use HIMARS in the Kharkiv region against Russian border territory. Is it enough? No. I've already given an example. Airfields from which Russia bombs Ukraine, knowing that Ukraine will not bomb them in response. We don't have systems in place to do this.
Earlier, the head of the Situation Center Ukraine at the German Ministry of Defense, Major General Christian Freudin, admitted that Ukraine would be able to use Patriot anti-aircraft missile systems to shoot down aircraft over Russian territory. Reported by Diana Kolesnik, Yulia Granovska, UATV News.